This video is concerned with the theory around the steps involved in client and server-side scripting and the differences between interpreting client-side scripting and interpreting server-side scripting. In this video, we're going to look at client-server scripting and in particular the sequence of events between a client and web server when an HTML is requested by the client and displayed on a browser on the client computer. The 5 steps are: number 1, the user keys in the uniform resource locator into the browser software. Number 2, the DNS, domain name service, uses the domain name from the browser to look up the IP, or Internet Protocol address, of the web server. Number 3, once we know the IP address, we can connect, the client can connect to the web server and make a request for that particular page, and then the web server retrieves the page. Step 4, once the page has been retrieved by the web server, it then sends the web page content as HTML across to the client machine for it to be read and interpreted by the browser. And the 5th and final step, the browser software interprets the script which has been sent by the web server, and it renders the page and displays. The next 2 slides you're going to see show you what happened when client-side script, such as JavaScript, or server-side script, such as PHP, is run, and how this affects the 5 steps. And it's going to be shown in graphic format, but I will number the steps so that you can see where these steps 1 to 5 come into play. So let's look at a sequence where JavaScript is embedded in the HTML page that's being transferred. How does this affect those 5 steps? Well, as before, the 5 steps are typing in the URL, using the DNS to get the IP address, then the web server retrieves the page, the web server sends the web page content to the browser, and at this point in step 5, we've got a slight difference because as well as interpreting the HTML, you're also interpreting the JavaScript because it's on the client side, rendering the page with the HTML, embedding the JavaScript within it, and displaying it to the user. Now, if the JavaScript is activated on a button click or on a timer, for example, then the browser software will be responsible for rendering the page in a different way, or however the JavaScript wants to change the page. So it could be that it changes the background color when a particular button is pressed, or it could be that you click on a button, it asks you for your name, and then it says, "Hi, your name." With regard to server-side scripting, we're going to take the same 5 steps, and I'll annotate this diagram again. So the first thing we're going to do is the user is going to key in the URL into the browser. Then the DNS server, or the domain name service, uses the domain name from the browser to look up the IP address of the web server. At this point, there's a slight change to the 5 steps because the server's got to do more work. So the web server retrieves the page which contains the server-side script, and then it performs some processing on the page, because what happens with server-side scripting is that you run the script on the server side so that you do not send security details or information such as passwords or database connections back to the client. You want to keep it on the server side for security reasons. So when you retrieve the page, you also interpret any server-side scripts. Once the server-side script has been interpreted and turned into HTML, the web server then sends the web page back to the browser, and step 5 is just as normal. The browser software interprets the script, which is the HTML, renders the page, and displays it to the user.